Your grocery receipt is basically a mugging in broad daylight. Wilted produce, picked weeks ago, trucked in from 3 states away. We're done paying for that. Today we're not planting a garden. We're building a fully stocked grocery store. On your patio, in nothing but containers. 20 vegetables, most food, least space, least effort. By the end of this, your weekly grocery run is a walk to your backyard. And number 1 isn't just a vegetable. It's the highest yielding container plant that exists. Once you see it, your patio changes forever. Let's get into it. Here's the mission. By number 1, you'll have a complete blueprint for a self-sufficient container grocery store. Patio, balcony, or backyard corner, doesn't matter. One rule for every pick on this list: yield per square foot. Nothing decorative, nothing low output. Every plant here earns its spot by producing real food you'd otherwise be paying for at checkout. We'll cover the container size, the material, why it works biologically, and how fast you're harvesting. Because the goal isn't to grow something, it's to stop buying it. 20 pots. 20 grocery store aisles. Let's start the countdown at number 20. Sick of paying for sad, rubbery radishes under supermarket fluorescents? Grow your own. Here's why this is number 20 and not higher. It's fast, but it's simple. The University of Maryland Extension says radishes mature in 25 to 35 days. Plant a small batch every 5 days and you've got a steady harvest, before most other seeds even germinate. Containers dead simple too. Shallow root system. NC State Extension says shallow-rooted crops like radishes only need 6 to 8 inches of potting mix. Skip the deep, expensive pots. Grab a long, wide window box instead. 1 month. Crisp, peppery roots. No checkout line. We've all been fed those flavorless bags of baby carrots, whittled down by machines, rinsed in chlorine. Growing your own beats that, but only if you get the container right. Biggest beginner mistake: too shallow a pot. NC State Extension's Container Gardening Guide is blunt. Carrots need 10 to 12 inches of potting mix, way deeper than lettuce or radish. Miss that, and the taproot hits bottom and forks instead of growing straight. That's why a deep fabric grow bag wins here. Breathable fabric keeps the soil loose all the way down, so the taproot stretches fully instead of deforming against hard plastic. The payoff: sweet, straight, snap-crisp carrots that make store-bought taste like flavored water. If this is useful, tell me your grocery bill in the comments. Hit subscribe. 17 more picks coming. Fresh basil at the store is one of the worst trades in groceries. You pay a premium for a plastic clamshell. 2 days later, it's black and slimy. Turning one basil plant into a non-stop leaf factory comes down to technique, not luck. West Virginia University Extension is direct. Pinch the top 2 to 3 inches of stem regularly. That triggers branching, more leaves, and stops the plant from flowering. Every pinch, 2 stems instead of 1. Terracotta is the expert's pick for the container. Porous walls let excess moisture escape. Basil handles heat fine, soggy roots kill it. Snip a handful at night, blend it into pesto. 0 food miles. No herb aisle can compete. This is the staple you're constantly running back to the store for, wrapped in plastic for something that costs pennies to grow. Here's what makes green onions borderline unkillable in a container. Cutting doesn't kill them, it triggers them. The plant regrows from the same base, again and again, from intact tissue at the bottom. Snip the tops for dinner. Days later, fresh growth is already pushing up. A long, narrow planter box is all you need. Shallow, tightly clustered roots. Pack in dozens without them competing for space. This is your garnish station now. A 10-second trip outside replaces a whole shelf of plastic-wrapped bunches. Want a premium ingredient that's surprisingly hard to find fresh in stores? This is it. And it's basically maintenance-free. The University of Minnesota Extension calls garlic chives a hardy allium perennial. Cut the flower stalks at the soil line once they finish blooming, and the plant stays productive instead of wasting energy on seed. This is a plant that rewards neglect. Skip the deep pot. A wide, shallow ceramic bowl works. The root clump spreads outward, not down. And ceramic holds the moisture this plant prefers. Grab scissors. Cut it back hard. 1 week later, a fresh flush of garlicky, oniony leaves for your next stir-fry. We've all thrown away half a tub of slimy, expensive spinach that wilted before we even opened it. Growing your own fixes that. But respect one rule first. Spinach is a cool season crop. The University of Arizona Cooperative Extension is clear. Hot, long days trigger bolting and bitter flavor. Planted in the brisk cold of early spring or fall, never peak summer. A wide, shallow window box is the ideal container. Spinach roots spread horizontally, not deep. And the University of Minnesota Extension confirms it. Heat is exactly what triggers premature flowering and bitter leaves. Harvest the outer leaves. Let the center keep producing. One of the easiest cut-and-come-again crops you'll ever grow. Want a plant that replaces expensive cooking greens and doubles as a stunning piece of natural art? This is it. And it shrugs off both heat and cold. The University of Florida IFAS Extension notes chard is more heat-tolerant than spinach or lettuce, one of the few greens that keeps producing straight through the hottest months instead of bolting. Go heavy, a 12-inch deep container for the root system. A dark, glazed ceramic pot adds thermal mass, stabilizing the root zone through sudden temperature swings. It's reliable, cut and come again. One well-timed planting feeds you for months. Soups, sautés, a fraction of the store-bought cost. We're 60% through this list. Drop your favorite pick so far in the comments. And stay subscribed. We're not done. Buying organic kale week after week adds up fast. Growing it yourself turns your patio into a premium organic market. And this plant survives almost anything. NC State Extension lists kale varieties bred for cold tolerance. Established plants shrug off temperatures as low as 10 degrees Fahrenheit. No protection needed. Cold doesn't kill this plant. It improves the flavor. Kale's a heavy feeder, and it grows top-heavy. That means a big 10 to 15-gallon fabric grow bag is essential. Breathable fabric air prunes the roots, giving the plant the anchor it needs for that towering canopy. Break off the darkest, largest leaves week after week. Salads, oven-baked chips, organic luxury for pennies, all season long. Store-bought cucumbers get coated in wax just to survive cross-country shipping. That wax masks a bland, watery flavor. A compact bush variety fixes that completely. No massive trellis needed. Epic Gardening's Growing Guide notes award-winning bush types like salad bush yield full-sized cucumbers on plants that only reach 3 to 4 feet. Huge harvest, small footprint. A 5-gallon container with a small tomato cage tucked inside is the setup. Harvest to Table's Growing Guide recommends 5 gallons minimum for bush cucumbers, with the cage keeping fruit elevated off damp soil to prevent rot. Slice them straight off the vine. No wax to peel. Just crisp, hydrating cucumber for your summer salad. Perfect, unblemished organic eggplants are expensive and bruise easily on grocery shelves. Grown in a container, they might be the most beautiful vegetable in the whole garden. But they demand one thing to fruit well: heat. Epic Gardening's Container Guide recommends a 12-inch deep pot, placed in the hottest, sunniest spot you've got. North Carolina A&T State University Extension adds that dark plastic containers trap extra heat, an advantage for heat-loving fruiting crops like eggplant, managed carefully. An unglazed terracotta pot works especially well. Thick clay walls absorb daytime heat and radiate it back into the roots overnight, mimicking the tropical warmth eggplants crave. Slice into that dense, glossy fruit. Rich, meaty eggplant parmesan. Restaurant quality, sourced from one pot on your patio. Perfectly ripe, colorful bell peppers feel like a luxury purchase, several dollars for one pepper. Growing your own changes that math, but it takes patience. The Old Farmer's Almanac says bell peppers are extremely heat-sensitive. They drop blossoms above 85 to 90 degrees Fahrenheit. So the real trick isn't blasting the plant with heat, it's managing root zone warmth. A standard 5-gallon black plastic nursery pot is the expert's move. Dark plastic absorbs solar heat, warms the roots. Exactly the trigger peppers need to fully ripen and shift from green to red, yellow, orange. Snap a heavy sun-warmed pepper straight off the stem. Roast it over an open flame. Proof: the best ingredients are grown, not bought. If your only experience with green beans is the soggy canned version, a container of bush beans will change your mind. And this crop practically fertilizes itself. Here's the partnership. Bush beans host rhizobium bacteria in their root nodules, pulling nitrogen straight from the air. That's also why University of Maryland Extension research warns excess nitrogen fertilizer actually delays flowering and suppresses pod production. Less feeding, more beans. A wide, shallow trough or half barrel is the ideal container. Shallow roots, but they need horizontal space. First harvest, just 50 to 65 days from planting. Sauté them with garlic and lemon. Bright, snapping. This redefines what a fresh green bean should taste like. Heavy, dirt-covered bags of potatoes that rot in your pantry? Needless chore. Growing them yourself is a revelation. And the container method makes harvest almost effortless. Potatoes grow on short runners called stolons, forming along the buried stem. Cover more stems with soil as the plant grows, and you get more potatoes. That's the whole trick. That's why a breathable 15-gallon fabric grow bag is the right call. Hard plastic traps water, rots the tubers. Fabric means airflow and drainage. Harvest day, just tip the bag onto a tarp. No shovel. Roasting freshly dug, homegrown potatoes. Creamy inside, crispy skin. Store-bought spuds can't touch it. Most patio gardeners treat lettuce as a short-lived spring crop. Pull it the moment it bolts. Leave one plant alone, though, and you unlock a far more resilient harvest. The University of Maryland Extension is clear. Long days and hot summer temps trigger bolting and bitter flavor. That's exactly why timing and variety matter more than luck. Pick heat-resistant, slow-bolting types, and you buy real extra weeks. Lettuce has such a shallow root system, it grows in as little as 6 inches of soil, perfect for a wide window box. Pack it densely along the edge for a continuous supply. Cut and come again, snip the outer leaves, leave the center intact. One plant. Weeks of salad. Not one single harvest. Grocery store strawberries get picked underripe and shipped hard. That's exactly why they taste like nothing. A container of day-neutral strawberries flips that completely. Iowa State University Extension notes day-neutral varieties produce a handful of berries every few weeks, all season. Unlike June-bearing types that dump one heavy harvest and quit. A steady trickle. Exactly what a patio harvest needs. A hanging basket or wide 10 to 12-inch container works beautifully. Keeps the fruit off the ground, cuts disease pressure, lets the plant cascade over the edge while staying productive. Pick berries the moment they're uniformly red, intensely sweet, sun-warmed. No supermarket berry comes close. We're deep into the top 10. Tell me which pick you're most excited to try, and stay subscribed before we hit the top 5. Most gardeners think of peas as strictly a spring crop. By midsummer, their trellises sit empty. But sugar snap peas hide one of container gardening's best-kept secrets, the fall harvest. The University of Florida IFAS Extension specifically recommends sugar snap peas as a fall crop, planted once summer heat breaks. They thrive in exactly the cool conditions most other summer vegetables can't handle anymore. A 5 to 7 gallon pot with lightweight trellis netting or fine twine is all you need. Peas climb with delicate tendrils, not heavy vines. The support just needs to be tall, not tough. Snap a handful of crisp, sweet pods right off the vine on a cool autumn afternoon. The reward for not giving up on your trellis after spring. If your only experience with green beans is the soggy canned version, pole beans are the upgrade you didn't know you needed. And they solve a space problem that bush beans can't. Pole beans have an indeterminate growth habit. They keep producing flowers and pods all season. Grown vertically, they yield 2 to 3 times the harvest of bush varieties in the same footprint. Massive space efficiency from one small plant. A long, narrow container, 2 to 3 feet, with a simple bamboo teepee or netting trellis is all it takes. Pole beans twine. They don't grip hard, so the support doesn't need to be industrial. Pick every 3 to 5 days once pods hit size. The plant just keeps producing. A genuine season-long harvest from one small footprint. Butternut squash is famous for comfort food soups, but traditional varieties are garden hogs. They swallow up yards of space. Training them vertically solves that entirely. The University of Florida IFAS Extension notes butternut squash resists squash vine borers better than many other cucurbits, thanks in part to its vining habit. The same trait that makes it a garden hog also makes it perfect for trellising. A mature butternut gets heavy. You'll want a rigid trellis or A-frame, paired with a fabric sling. Old pantyhose or mesh produce bags work, to cradle the fruit as it swells. taking the weight off the vine. The reward is a marathon crop. Once cured, butternut squash stores for months. Homegrown food, deep into winter, from one summer planting. Standard bush zucchini eats an entire patio floor by midsummer. Vining varieties flip the equation, climbing instead of sprawling. And solving zucchini's biggest disease problem in the process. Colorado State University Extension recommends trellising cucurbit crops like zucchini as one of the most effective ways to improve airflow and stop powdery mildew, the fungus that regularly wipes out summer squash. Damp leaves against soil are exactly what it needs to spread. A sturdy 10 to 15 gallon pot with a tall pole or heavy trellis is the move. Tie the main stem up as it climbs. Prune the lowest leaves near the soil line to keep that airflow working for you. One vine. A genuinely staggering harvest. Enough zucchini to grill all summer, with extra for the neighbors. Taking the crown, the indeterminate cherry tomato. The word indeterminate is the whole secret. This plant never stops growing, flowering, fruiting, until the season's first hard frost finally shuts it down. The single greatest expert trick happens on day one. The University of Wisconsin-Madison extension is clear. Any container for an indeterminate variety needs to be significantly bigger than a 5-gallon bucket. The plant keeps growing all season. It needs the root volume to support it. And here's the move nobody tells you. Tomatoes grow roots directly from their buried stem. Bury 2/3 of the stem at transplanting, and you build a dramatically stronger root system than planting at nursery depth. A 15 to 20 gallon pot, paired with a tall, sturdy trellis or stake. That's the setup. The deep planted roots pull water up the vine through the hottest days of August, walking out to your patio every evening to pluck sun-warmed, bursting cherry tomatoes straight off the vine. That's the single greatest reward in container gardening. Proof. The best ingredients are grown, not bought. That's the list. 20 vegetables that turn a patio, a balcony, or a small backyard corner into a genuine grocery store replacement, one container at a time. Here's the truth. You don't need all 20. Even 5 or 6, picked to match your climate and your space, can meaningfully cut your grocery bill. Fresher, better tasting food than anything trucked in from across the country. So tell me, which of these 20 are you planting first? Drop it in the comments. And tell me what you already grow that didn't make this list. I read every one. If this helped you plan your patio grocery store, hit subscribe. The Greenhaven Farm has a lot more coming. Until next time, happy growing.